Hey, it's Terry, your favorite no bullshit artist and business coach, and you're listening to Terry Talks, where we discuss all things taboo, uncovering art industry nonsense, grounding you in confidence and leadership to run an arts business with unwavering power and grit. Hello, friends. Hope everyone is well. Happy belated Mother's Day. All those who've played a motherly figure, those who are still with us, those who are with us fully. Something rather taboo that I want to talk about is just, Mother's Day is a really interesting one, and I'm sure that I'm not the only one that this is relatable for. Some of us, there are lots of different things that can come up for a day like this. Some relationships just aren't as peachy as others. I love my mother to death. I'm her daughter, but I don't necessarily like her. And as I've gotten older, my boundaries have just reached new heights and gotten stronger with lots of therapy and lots of, just thinking about what I want those boundaries to look like. And especially like in the family dynamic, it can be really difficult to uphold those boundaries, especially when, sometimes our parents need attention, want attention, and we're living our own lives. So that can, you know, just be a little bit difficult. Right? Because on Mother's Day, we're supposed to be celebrating and it's a celebratory day, but not for everyone. And I can forgive, but I'm also still healing from a lot of that childhood trauma and these wounds that have come up, right? When you're in therapy in your 20s and your 30s and your 40s and for the rest of your life. Depending on how deep you want to go, those things resurface inevitably. And it can definitely breed resentment. You have to deal with that type of baggage, and it takes a lot of work. So I just wanted to kind of address that because I feel like that is something that either we shouldn't talk about or we shouldn't say, or it's not really something that a lot of people are open to because of this celebratory aspect, right? We do want to celebrate the mothers out there, the dads who've played mothers, the mothers who have been aunts and played that role, and just be grateful for all of that mentorship and that guidance and that love, the unconditional love. My mother unconditionally is obsessed with me, but it's not every relationship is a clear path, and it's very complex. So I just wanted to get that off my chest. Today's episode is going to address as an artist and how awful it is. I've been helping my clients with, open call sessions and residencies and getting into the nitty gritty of the writing aspect, and personally, I was a C student. I hated writing. I hated math, but I tried so fucking hard. I tried so hard. And even up until college, it was still like a big struggle for me. I had to go in for extra writing help, in the college library, and you'd meet the tutor and all of that. And it's not something that I truly hated, but I have to say that social media has helped me so much with my writing. Those sections that I hated post college and my MFA application, like they have made me so great at my emails and so much more of a clear explainer and communicator. Explainer is, I don't think it's a word at all. Regardless, there are, so many reasons why this just feels so awful for artists. My clients are kind of like, they're not dragging their feet anymore because there's so much good that's going to come out of these documents, right? Once you have your bio, once you have your artist statement, once you have your resume and everything's like solid, all you have to do is rinse and repeat and make sure that you're kind of switching things up for each application depending on what their specific questions are, right? But number one, like it's hard for us to acknowledge our accolades. It's hard for us to remember like how much awesome shit that we have done. And I think that's one of the things that makes writing about ourselves so fucking hard is that we oftentimes forget to pat ourselves on the back. And so how am I supposed to write about myself in the most positive light, in the best pitch, and I'm this like amazing, talented, intelligent person that's going to be an asset to you? Like, how do I write about that if I don't even recognize my own accomplishments? And I think so that's one thing that I was thinking about that makes it so hard. We often forget our why. Like, why am I using these lines to express this concept? Or what is my concept? Maybe I've never really, I've just been making and I haven't necessarily been connecting the dots as to like internally what I'm going through or where these ideas are coming from. I would say only until I got my MFA, I really understood that a lot of my work was about my mental health journey and about what it felt like. And so I used lots of layers to describe what this anxiety felt like. The third thing that I think makes writing so fucking awful for us is that we overlook, the art making process because it's such an intuitive, playful outlet. And we don't really have to describe it until we do. So I'm in the studio and I'm been working on this painting for, I don't know, 4 months. And maybe I'm doing some drawings on the side. And maybe I'm, just playing around with some other materials or going to a class or whatever, right? I'm not like in this deep space where I'm like explaining to myself, like, well, what does this line mean? I don't give a fuck. I just want to make, I want to use my freedom when I can. You know what I mean? We're not as free to do and be all the time. And so when we have the space to fill up with our creativity, like we don't want to go start like analyzing what we're doing. Like that's the last fucking thing I want to do, right? I'm thinking and ruminating all fucking day about what I'm going to eat and what I'm going to do and when I'm going to work out, stressing over life and just life is lifing. And so with these things in mind, it's totally reasonable that we fucking hate writing about ourselves. It is one of the hardest things to do. And a lot of the times people will get ghostwriters or will hire somebody to, like outsource writing a bio because it's just kind of easier that way, right? Like I can totally write my client's bio and I can explain how fucking amazing and how, depth worthy her body of work is and how she's developed. And so it's easy for me to see that as an outside perspective. But for her, it's taking a lot of self-reflection and it's taking a lot of like emotional in a way for her to like dig in without using vague language, right? We always want to use vague language because it we feel like it's kind of a blanket, like it helps us sort of cover lots of ground without being specific. But the issue is when you're applying for something specific, they want you to write in a specific manner. They're looking for the things that they can't see that you can help them see. So here's my abbreviated version on how to make writing as an artist a little bit easier, feel a little bit more tangible and less pressure filled. So number one is I recommend writing in a very like AB 1, 2, 3 language. No one likes more than anything to read big, vague SAT words that honestly, don't mean shit. Too many artists are using the word abstract. Too many of us are using the words, culture, or I'm trying to think about, different words that I've recently read. But it's if we're using those SAT words to describe something, it better be followed up with a concrete example on how you are doing that specific thing. So, for instance, if you are writing an application to a residency, and essentially what they want to know is what you're going to do with your time and how you propose you're going to use it. A lot of the times they want you to be really specific with a project that you might have in mind. And sometimes they just want to know, like, where you want to go with your work and what your current process is and where you want to take it. Are you committed to taking your work somewhere else? Right. So, I'm describing my work and I'm trying to give them like, the reviewers, the people who are looking at my applications, an idea beyond the images that I'm sending them, right? They're in addition. I might start by painting a picture of my BTS. So like behind the scenes, like when I picked up these materials, like maybe it was 10 years ago, maybe it was 20 years ago, maybe you kind of picked back up a style that felt comfortable after 10 years of not doing it, right? So kind of like that background information and then describing exactly what you do with those materials in a non, in a mature way. So that's the first thing, to use large words just to use large words and to sound smart is ridiculous. You're going to sound smart as the more specific you get. Number two, I would say is that you're writing, and I kind of mentioned this in the last comment, but your writing is an accompaniment an accompaniment. I don't know why I just questioned myself, to the artwork, right? It's in addition, but they have to go together, which is why writing is a part of all the applications, right? Or else we just all be sending in JPEGs and, call it a day. Luckily, we're still alive and we're able to expand and explain our thought process, right? Fuck, like if Salvador Dali was still alive, I would literally sit on a carpet like a little child on my little circle and listen and want to listen to story time, right? But he's not. And so we're kind of left with just like making assumptions for ourselves, using our imagination and coming to our own conclusions based on our personal experiences, based on our emotional connection to what we're seeing, right? But what if he was a Sagittarius? What if, which is what I am, what if him and I liked the same food? Like all of a sudden, I have more of an intrigue, more of a connection to him. So it's you sharing the things that people reading can't see. It's in addition to that. You're essentially giving us front row seat into your concept, right? If your concept is childhood memories, what part of that are you exploring? Are you exploring your own? Are you exploring the way that people interpret memories? Are you exploring the way that people record? Were you someone that used a camera often? Were you someone that wanted to take those moments and put them into a different medium, and why? And so that's just like one example. And then the third thing I want to talk about is read the fucking question. Read it 4 times, read it 5 times, until you actually get what the question is. I would say that 9 out of 10 times, applications don't actually answer the goddamn question. I have been there many times. I've had my sister, who's a professional writer, read over something and be like, first of all, this means nothing. Second of all, I don't get what you're saying. Third of all, I know your work, but still. And then lastly, you're not answering the fucking question, right? You just like missed it altogether. So I suggest rephrasing the question if you need to, or ask someone to explain and reinterpret what the question actually is in their sort of in like the most baby language possible. The reviewer hates more than anything when you don't answer the damn question. And so those are my 3 kind of the easiest things that I could mention as I'm reading these documents. And something that I am now offering is application documents, a document edit and audit and review, because I know that this is a pain point for a lot of artists, but it is an essential part of your package deal. When you have these documents done, you should be able to use them for the remainder of your life with tweaking and with some edits being made for each application. But everything should be pretty consistent across the board, right? Concepts are going to change over years. Materials are going to evolve. The way we play in our studios is going to evolve. The things that we're getting involved in, our experiences are going to shape and change our lives. However, the basis of who you are when you reach a certain age is pretty much going to be there. It's going to stay there. And we want to know how amazing you are. We want to hear that. So I hope that this collection of advice, I guess, and tips, I guess, however you want to interpret this episode, has helped give you a little bit more clarity, maybe taken some of the heavy lifting off of your shoulders, and maybe you're sitting back and you're kind of like, okay, I got this, short and sweet. Have someone read it, even throw it in an email, send it to someone, and you got this. And, the best part is getting those acceptances to 10 out of 1 that you've applied to, because it's so close to you. It really, really is. These opportunities are so close to you. So why not? What's interesting is I was explaining to my client, there are so many opportunities that people actually don't apply to because they feel overwhelmed by the application process. And to be honest, those are the ones to leverage the most, because your chances of getting into that residency is so much higher because the application rate is a lot lower. I last year received a $5,000 scholarship from the New York Arts Foundation. And, I was that, first of all, I'm glad that I was able to be so vulnerable in my application. It pretty much went right through. But I also thought in my head, like, this almost felt too easy to apply to. Number one, I had a lot of my documents already ready. Number two, I don't think that it was advertised, as widely as it could have been. And that obviously worked to my benefit. So you really never know, and for every rejection, it should bring clarity into your world. It should bring, this thought process like, well, what happened here? And you can even email them and ask, and sometimes they will give you a genuine answer. And sometimes they'll tell you, we had too many fucking applicants, can't answer you, you know, wish you the best. And that's fine too. But it is always worth asking. It is always worth trying to get feedback. And I don't think we do that enough. It's scary, right? For people to be brutally honest with us. It's scary, especially with something we're so passionate about. So I encourage you to apply to that thing. I encourage you to get your shit together and to get all your documents in one folder and really do some organizing. Spend a day just doing that and not worrying about anything else. Because once you just spend those couple of hours, at your leisure, kind of just like scrolling through, like you'll get into the zone and you'll get the ball rolling. I promise you. So if you're someone who is in fact struggling with these things and you can't seem to get over the hump, I'd love to be there to support you and walk you through the process and go ahead and share my edits with you directly into your documents, which is what my one-on-one clients have access to. That's an a la carte service. That's a done for you service, which is a new menu that I have available. These prices will not stay these prices because right now it's sort of in beta round and I want to work closely with the people who are interested in these services and get that feedback. So please feel free to reach out, hop over to the website. Everything is listed there, but I will make sure to link it below. As always, for new podcasters like myself, any feedback, rating, or subscribe button helps me to reach more artists. And really that's my mission, is to ensure that you are feeling supported from up close to afar. I will see you on the gram. Thanks for listening to another unfiltered episode of Terry Talks. I've also got some free resources on my website that will help make your life a lot easier as an artist in business. You can also check out my services or apply to work together. Before you go, don't forget to hit the subscribe button and sign up for my newsletter for more art industry information. See you on the gram.